From a small Texas church to Las Vegas to Harford County, recent mass shootings have horrified people across America, and their growing frequency is changing the way police and paramedics respond together. This morning, WJZ Investigator MIke Hellgren shows us how they're getting to victims and saving lives when every second counts.
We have multiple witnesses saying it's a shooter. Bring it, please.
Only WJZ obtained this video showing the chaos outside an Edgewood business moments after a man went on a shooting rampage against his co-workers. Paramedics were able to get to those injured faster because of new protocol that allowed them to enter the building with the continuing threat of an armed gunman.
This is a complete mind shift change.
How critical are those first few minutes?
It's paramount.
Harford County Deputy Jeremy Mothershed was one of the first on the scene that day.
Time is saving lives, and we need to get in and stop that bleeding to save those lives.
He was uniquely prepared for what he saw here. He's also the Chief of Emergency Medical Services for Havre de Grace Ambulance.
And had just finished training some of the same EMTs who were with him on the scene.
Just being able to have that dialogue and really not even have to say too much of anything, and they got in and they did it.
In the past, paramedics would have to wait, no matter how long it took, until there was no possible threat from an active shooter.
Oh my God.
During the Pulse nightclub massacre in Orlando, emergency personnel were left outside for 3 hours before they could go in and treat victims.
They're saying somebody's shooting in the auditorium.
At the movie theater shooting in Aurora, Colorado, police used their own squad cars to take the wounded away from the scene for treatment. But the federal government recently called for a more aggressive response, training paramedics to enter danger zones under police cover. In Edgewood, teams of medics and officers went in together.
Something that we would have probably never thought would ever have to be needed 10 years ago, of our paramedics and EMTs wearing ballistic vests on an incident, let alone as a daily requirement.
How risky was it that day here in Edgewood?
You could say it's not the normal, but it's a necessary evil that we have to deal with right now.
The Edgewood response will be used to train medics in the future, and lives were saved. Enoch Sosa was shot in the head and one of only 2 victims to survive.
Well, you believe in miracle? Look at me, I'm a miracle be alive. And what do not kill you make you stronger.
The true test is when it happens for real life. On that Wednesday, we proved that it can work. It's no longer textbook.
So, Mike, these paramedics were able to get in sooner, and that saved lives.
Yeah, we saw during as far back as Columbine and the Pulse shooting in Orlando that at times EMTs would have to wait until the situation was entirely safe, what they called a cold zone, to go in. But in Harford County, they were able to send in those paramedics almost right away to treat the injured. And so that really did make a life-saving difference in this instance.
Because every second counts.
Every second counts. And we heard from one of the survivors who just got out of shock trauma, and he said it's a miracle that he's alive. We talked to a deputy who was the 4th person in. He is also a paramedic in Havre de Grace, in addition to being a Harford County deputy. And he said that he saw some of the same people he was training just weeks before. And this is a real-life case that shows that this training works, to get those paramedics in as fast as possible. So that helps to stop people from bleeding and, again, save lives.
It's so important. And going back to Enoch Sosa, who, as you said, is out of the hospital, he had a lot of praise for the first responders and the people at shock trauma who saved his life.
He certainly did. I mean, he has made remarkable progress. He was shot in the head, and just 2 weeks later, he was out of the hospital talking about what a miracle it is that he survived. He's one of only 2 people who was shot that day to actually survive, and it's because of the work of those paramedics and those doctors at shock trauma.
It is. His recovery has been amazing. You feel for his wife and his 4 kids, for sure. Mike, thank you so much for the story.